Hi, and welcome to Ask Dawn and Donna. I'm Donna Piper, and to one side of me or the other is Dawn Shirali of Real Power Coaching. So today's topic is all the feels. So we are filming this on the Pisces new moon on March the 13th. And I don't want to speak for Dawn, but I have been going through all the feels. This is a big transformational new moon. So if you're watching this in a few months and you remember back to what you were doing on March 15th and you were feeling a little like a lot was going on, probably these new moon energies. So with that, obviously we're doing this in the pandemic sort of era, which we're still in. And in addition to having the pandemic and everything, there's also been major energy shifts in planets. There's been major shifts in politics and social, not
Norms.
socialism, social norms. Thank you. I'm like, a whole other topic.
Yes, it is.
And that's what we wanted to talk about. Like so for me, a good image is that shifting sands. Like I keep
Hmm.
changing and moving, but it feels like I'm solid, and then the sands sort of shift and I'm like, what is going
Hmm.
on? And both Dawn and I are dedicated to our own practices to look for practical ways of making these huge spiritual shifts not just attainable, but integrated into our lives.
Hmm.
And that is what our talk is about today. So let's talk about some huge energy shifts. And I'll turn it over to Dawn to
Yes.
start
So
us off.
having all the feels, literally, it's changed moment to moment. And I have really leaned on other healers and have learned other things. Um, Lori Ladd said, like, expect to not be the same person when you wake up as to the person you will be when you go to bed. Literally, that is how it has been feeling. I've been immensely challenged with a depressive episode that sort of came out of nowhere after the summer of my life. And it's about reacquainting, I guess, the small things, and that success is a bunch of small steps forward and back, right? So a lot of self-compassion is needed right now, and to understand that there is no right or wrong, that some days I get nothing done, and I allow that. It's okay, right? And working through a little broken ankle thing, all the things. It's been really it's been a shit show on another level, right? And so the spiritual practices are like the self-care. So, I've been doing the get up and shower and, even do my hair or put on makeup every day. And through the pandemic, that was a real challenge for a time being. So, those small steps actually have made me feel quite a bit better.
That's beautiful. And also, I want to go back and touch upon about so you had this amazing summer where so much changed that you wanted to change, and you've
Yeah.
gotten a new space and more space. And then afterwards became uh, the opposite, probably, energy of what you imagined life would be
Totally.
once you got all the things that you desired. And that brings me to, I think I've been going through that stuff too. Like, I work really hard, and it's not just hard work, but it's really this dedication to my personal growth. And if I look at it from a very linear, analytical thing of expectation,
Yes.
of if I changed this or if I did this, then my expectation was to feel, think, and behave, even though I don't really know what that is. Like once I got the thing, I really just thought that I would be different and I would just, be happy every day,
Just be
or
happy.
go
Yeah.
for a run every day or do something that I hadn't been doing prior. So to have especially when you change location or make big changes, when you
Mhm.
have so much space or something you've wanted for so long, sometimes that could be overwhelming of like, okay, what to do now? Like, okay, I wanted to move to nature and I wanted a much bigger space.
Yes.
So,
And to tell you
uh-oh,
the truth, it was
now I have
paralyzing.
it.
It was paralyzing. I missed my small space where you literally had no choice where something went. You literally had no choice where the garbage can went because that was the only, 1 foot space available. And so I found it was very overwhelming. It was a, I call it the rubber band effect. Like I went too far the other way. I literally couldn't even deal with this second bedroom I've never had in my life. I couldn't deal. There's
Yeah.
still boxes in here, by the way. So, it just was, and it's the small steps. So I invested in a used desk. I got the circle lights, all the things. Now I put all my exercise things here. I ordered a little dumbbells. I've been on a shopping spree. Now I feel really, I don't like to use that word, the B
but
word, but, and it's
um,
just small steps.
but I think that's important to always emphasize, and I think we've emphasized it a lot, and I know I do with my clients and throughout. I don't always utilize it with myself, but that there is an expansive growth process. I've always wanted my spiritual work and my healing to give me freedom.
Mm,
And in that freedom is space so I can feel joy and take in all the goodness and see everything that I've done with a different way of other than just being critical or I need to do more. But because that's so foreign from what my old behavior is,
mm,
there's that gap in that space where I have to remind myself that there's a grief process for who that I was, that ego self dying. I mean, ego death is where you transcend. And that's kind of like
mm.
if you're on a spiritual path, that's what you want to do. You would want to surrender to the unknown and to the universe or God or whatever. That means that you're no longer serving your ego. And the ego doesn't want to die, but also it's disorienting to change your identity as much as you
It
want
is.
to. It's like, okay, now what? Now I'm in this space so that you give yourself time like you did to kind of go through the feelings because everything in nature I always see is balance and we're always in relationship with our environment, with ourselves, with people. And you had something you wanted so much. I mean, I remember, and then you get
Mhm.
it. And then we don't have like or at least I don't. I mean, maybe someone out there, like I don't have memories and a foundation of how to then stabilize myself in an expanded space. And
Right.
that is just trial and error. So the more, if anyone's out there listening, which I think most people are, even this pandemic, if you're out all the time and you're forced to be inside, it's a exact, it's just opposite. So it's not like you wanted to be inside all the time. Maybe you did. I
No.
don't know, but maybe people did, but it's like all the energy was out and now all the energy is in.
In.
Same thing as all the energy's in, all the energy's out. If you're striving, if it's the exact opposite of what you're used to, there needs to be a lot of grace and love and compassion to give yourself time
Grace.
to settle into it because
Absolutely.
our normal things will go through the things of how we usually relate. Like we might get angry, we might get sad, we might fight against it, we might be, oh my God, what the hell did I do? How the heck
Yes.
can I get out of this? Do I need to change stuff? Did I do the wrong thing? Like all of
Yes.
our stuff rises
Yes.
like cream, but not in a good way, so that we can see that, okay, we don't really need that anymore. But it takes a
Mm,
time to trust that.
it does. And I actually don't believe in regret. I feel like I'm an adult. I make decisions. I made the decisions based on certain things. And it's funny how we forget. We forget where we were at. Like I'll be remembered, I'll be like, oh yeah, that happened. like the signs, they say there are signs when you're supposed to move on. It's like, oh yeah, that little ant infestation, that wasn't so fun, was it? And it's like, oh, and that yelling neighbor, that wasn't so fun, right? I didn't have any peace, right? I had to go outside and do my laundry, right? And it is the small things where like, oh, I feel like, oh, at night, the other day I did a load and forgot it was in there. Because I used to have to like put a timer on because somebody would steal your towels, like it's new levels, right? So like the small appreciations, they come with time. And I never understood people that had their own washer dryer that just left it in the washer. I was like, how can you do that? But it was like I had to set a timer to make sure that nobody took it out or, heaven forbid, moved your underwear, all that, right? Like shared laundry experience. It's a whole new
Yes,
thing.
it is.
And it's the small appreciations. And it's like, wow, I'm out of towels. Wow, I can just do a load whenever I want. Like, and the appreciation for that comes in, and it does take time. And and again, a lot of allowing the feelings and honoring the feelings. So I have heard, I don't know what your feeling is, but it's 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Wallow in it. If it's sadness, allow it for 15 minutes and then and honor those feelings. It's like, because I think we spend a lot of our lives denying our feelings, which makes us, we don't have emotional mastery. And emotional mastery is allowing the feelings, even the ones we don't like or appreciate on a regular basis. I was in anger for a very long time. I never honored that, but I certainly was expressing it in a lot of ways that wasn't serving my highest good. So now when I'm angry or frustrated, I honor that. And it allows you, this is what transcending is it allows you to move through that and not stay stuck in that, right? And have it, overtake you, because we shame ourselves when we become emotional. We shame ourselves for our emotions here in North America. And and we try to silence them. And that's not right, And
No.
even when we label people with illness, it's like being labeled bipolar. Then it's like, if you express happiness, people are like, oh, what's wrong with you? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, aren't I allowed to have those feelings? It's like you're no longer allowed to even have those feelings, never mind express them. And I think it's really important to honor them and sit with them. And, and it just passes. It passes a lot easier, and you gain that emotional mastery. And it is about creating that space between reacting and responding.
And that's so true. That's most of the work that I've done is really, so not think your feelings, but actually feel your feelings and feel a space where you feel safe enough to express them, because feelings just really want to be felt. So whether it's 2 minutes, 15 minutes, or, an hour, whatever it needs to be, that you give yourself time and space just to kind of be curious first about what you're feeling and then allow it to come up. Because you're right, we are taught this society, there's different reasons, there's many different reasons why, but we're not usually taught how to have a healthy expression of our anger and our sadness and even our joy. So
Yeah.
most people don't want you to cry, like, oh, stop, just be happy. But then if you're really happy, then they're like, they don't really know what to do with that either. Because most people can relate to, it's easier for people to relate to, oh, I'm having a bummer day too, or I'm pissed off, or these people, or, that kind of lower vibe energy, people can usually cling on to and be like, yeah, I feel you, let's rally.
Yes.
Being
And I
around
feel like,
joy, it's not always that, like, oh, that's silly, or why, or tamp that. So either way, you're not always a winner, as far as interactions with people, like you're too much this or too not, or not enough. And to part of that growth is, you had, just because you have the story, I mean, I have similar things too. I just can't think of a good one, but that space for you afterwards is, those feelings were there anyway. It's not like the new place created them. You needed
No.
space to, sometimes we do need more physical space, even though it sounds weird, or a time with ourselves to to grieve and to feel all the feelings that were there as we grow. Because as I know in my own healing and stuff, there, even though I feel better, there's kind of like remnant emotions. I don't have a good word for it. I'm sure someone's made up some sort of fancy term, but it's kind of like trails of, like the things that they, all the bad stuff in the sky, that trail of like planes and stuff, the plane's
Okay.
gone, but there's still a little trace of it, like trace
Yes.
emotions. Like I
Emotion.
heal and
Yeah.
I move on, but maybe my body hasn't totally
Caught
caught
up.
up. Maybe I really just need to sit and honor, like you said, and appreciate and find out like, okay, like being angry or being sad and being shame and regret. These feelings, we have them in our repertoire for a reason for our human existence. However, we've all been either cast into a way to feel fear more or shame or regret or something where those emotions are more charged,
Mhm.
and that affects our behavior, and they just really want to be felt. Even your joy, it all changes. Your joy, you can only be joyful for so long and then it changes, and the changing part is not the negative part. Because I used to think like if I got everything I wanted, then I would never have to use these dips.
It's
Why
not
would I
true.
be angry, or why? And
Right.
so, like, not, the idealize of a 20-year-old, let me fix everything. And the idea of fixing or doing anything with your emotions is, or even with your mind or your body or who you are, kind of, it takes away, and there's a condemnation that I need to fix it because there's something wrong with me. And
Right.
healing from that place is harder than if you're like, oh, like there I am, how I am supposed to
The
be,
being.
and I have some things that I need to feel and then move from. Because even self-sabotage, I was talking to a girlfriend the other day, and she's like, especially with love, that's a whole other topic, relationships. But one of her other friends said something like, like kind of scolding her, you need to figure out why you still have this relationship self-sabotage. I'm thinking, I don't
Oh.
believe that anymore. I don't believe that you do anything to yourself to harm yourself. I think it's a wake up call of, okay, what do I still need to explore? What
Mm.
is still, what about a relationship have I not healed? Like,
Right.
am I afraid to really feel my broken heart?
Mm.
So, because if you then label your actions, then self sabotage, then to me, that's another layer that you have to get through that's negative. Like,
Yes.
so you
Yes.
can't just feel your emotions. You can't just have this thing where you're just like all in love with this person, even if he doesn't love you back. And then it has to be self sabotage. So it's another thing that you
Right.
have to push up against. And
Yes.
anytime you're in pain, if you negative self talk, I mean, it always breaks my heart when I hear other people. I do it a lot to myself. I'm taking that habit, but if you're already in pain and then someone like tells you like you really need to fix yourself and not do these things, it's like
That's not helpful.
if I if that was an option, I wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
There's something I
Right.
need to learn, think, and feel. And I think that's for all of us to
Something to
look
learn. Yes. See,
to
even in all the failures,
yeah,
there's
and
something
seeing
to
our
learn.
friends and family that we all have our own karma to learn something.
Mm. Hmm.
Sometimes it takes multiple lifetimes. Sometimes it takes like 50 bad same guy relationships.
Yes.
Sometimes it's one,
Repeating of
every,
the pattern, repeating of the pattern. Yeah,
and
it's not
tell
uncommon. It's common.
yeah,
Yes.
until you feel and learn and see what you're supposed to get from that. Um, but anytime that you are harshly judging yourself for how you feel, it's just, I think, one extra step of against you to try to when you actually feel it. So
Yeah.
this is a great
And it's
topic.
not serving your highest good. And to remember, there is no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. And what helps me a lot is that, spirituality, we believe that everything that is meant for you never bypasses you.
No,
That
it
gives me
just
great comfort.
it
So
just
it's
may have
that,
to come back again and again and again.
yeah, it might.
And maybe
But
like, no,
I also like the one where when we know better, we do better, right? Because all that whole thing, when you look back and think, oh, I should have said, or I should have done this, I could have changed this, I could have. Well, now that you know better, you will do better. If that situation came tomorrow, hopefully you would respond completely different, and the outcome would be completely different. And that is what the juice of the work is. And that transformation is never easy. And you don't just get to a spot of happy and bliss, and it doesn't just stay there, because life still, our human experience still happens, and it will surprise you every time.
yeah, because there is this point of like, and I still am think it's more esoteric maybe, but like the whole thing of if you look back at something and you have like a replay of should have, would have, could have, or maybe I'll do it differently. Like, who really am I to say that that's not how it's supposed to play out too?
True,
You know,
true.
why do I have to contort however I feel? So, with a caveat, no harm. So, this whole thing is about no harm to anyone, including yourself. So, if you're
Hmm.
doing harm and lashing out and destructive towards other people, that's something you have to like rein in and just be like, draw the line.
Self-responsibility is a
Yeah.
big one there.
So
Hmm.
no harm to yourself or other is the rule for
Hmm.
everything. However, how do you know if you could have changed the outcome? Really? You know what I mean? We think we know,
Yes.
we think we can, and we're very powerful and we might be, but then even our mind in our ego and all of that, thinking that if we would have done something differently,
Different.
then things would have been what we want. And even in this discussion, we've talked about things we've gotten that we wanted. Even though they're
The
amazing,
challenges
we
still
still
arise.
were bummed out. So it's not like if we could go back and do things in a way that could potentially, in a very linear equation, have a different outcome, really would that be the one thing we wanted? And really to kind of honor who we are with our authentic self. Like there's a reason why I was so annoyed for a decade. It's because I had a lot of pain inside me that I didn't know what to do with.
With.
And I didn't want to feel it because who wants to feel pain?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then as layers go and life is, you give opportunities after opportunity to feel it. And then sometimes you either get really sick or you have an accident or you lose someone, you know, life will give you what you need to experience what's going on inside of you. And to always remember that it's not like a silver lining because I don't like to be Pollyanna because it's not like just, but it's like, it's an opportunity to feel and to be curious about who you are because all of us, I don't care who you are, even if you're like, oh no, I'm about the other person, we all love to know about ourselves,
We do.
right? That's
Yes.
why we like
That is the
tarot
journey.
cards and psychics and doctors. Please tell me, find out what's
Yeah.
wrong with me, so it will
Yeah.
help me do something that I want, right?
Right.
So
Right.
if we looked at our emotions with that same sort of curiosity, not I don't want to have them or I should do this, take all that and just be like, oh, why am I so grumpy? Or,
Hmm.
what makes me afraid to do X? Or
Hmm.
why
Hmm.
isn't be me being silly like cool? Like, yeah, okay. and then go from there, and base your life on really what you want to show up as, not how it would fit in with friends, family, etc. Or the I'm in America and Don's in Canada. And I think you guys have the same American dream sort of
Yes,
Northern
yes,
European thing, but the
yes.
dream of like,
Success, blah, blah,
this
blah, what
thing
that
and what
is.
success means. And, and now we do with this huge energy shifts of all of us feeling, the success becomes different.
It has, it's shifted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
And
law of grace, the law of grace. I think grace for yourself, grace for others is really important right now. I think it's a game changer, actually.
that's a beautiful way to end, having grace for yourself and others, and explore what that even means, because
Yes.
it is layered for sure. So thank you all for joining us today on Ask Donna and Donna. If you have any questions, you can always email us at askdonnaanddonna@gmail.com. And I think we're gonna start like having a Patreon. I think I said it wrong. I don't know. I always saw it Pantheon, but it's Patreon
That's Patreon.
account. So look for different things for us with healings and fun stuff. And we will see you next time. Bye.